Tom Aspinall is the guy to beat Jon Jones. I'm going to tell you why in this video, so strap yourself in. Get ready for liftoff. Let's go. Now, I'm not going to, tell you some sort of stupid reason like, Tom's bigger than Jon, so therefore, that's not really a justified reason, So I'm going to tell you actual reasons on why this man on the right is better than this bald fraud on the left. Let's go. Tom Aspinall is a bulldozer. He has got 5 first-round finishes in the UFC with the shortest average fight time. He's an absolute bulldozer, mate. He runs through people. He ran through Sergey Pavlovich to get the interim belt, and then he defended it by running through Curtis Blades. Defend his interim belt. Insane. Now, this is even better when you compare the fact that Jon Jones has his worst round in the first. Every single one of these fights, here, first one against Santos, worst round inside the first. All 3 judges agree, and then probably the second round as well. I had it 3-1 Santos, with Santos winning the first, second, and the 5th down here. Now, that fight, the scoring was all over the place. But then if you look in this one, in the Reyes fight, all 3 judges think that Jones lost the first round against Reyes, with another judge thinking that he lost the second round, another one thinking he loses the third. So once again, scoring a little bit all over the place, but still pretty close rounds. First round domination by Reyes. Next up, we're going to move into the Gustafsson fight, where he lost the first round pretty clearly. Now, that added with the fact that Tom Aspinall is a bulldozer in the first round and has the shortest average fight time. He's only ever been to the second round once, right? If Jon Jones comes out the same way he did against these 3 fighters, and against Smith had a good first round against him as well. Let's people forget, man. Like Smith, we all think of the legal knee because that was pretty stupid from Jones. But Smith had a pretty good first round against him. He didn't win the first round, but he still had a pretty good first round. So if you mix that with the fact that Tom Aspinall is an absolute bulldozer, if Jones comes out the same way he did against these 4 fighters, these 4 guys, he's going to get blitzed and knocked out in the first round. Now, these aren't just any old fighters either. If you look at the names on this list, out of these 4, you would recognize them for these 4 here. Now, obviously, I do realize that the Gustafsson was a rematch from the first one, which, we can get into that a little bit. But the fact that all 4 of these names are all on this list says a lot, right? He said that at the press conference. The Anthony Smith fight, he lost the first round. The Thiago Santos fight, he didn't lose the first round against Anthony Smith. But Anthony Smith did very good in the first round. Santos did very good in the first round. And Reyes did very good in the first round. Now, obviously, we're going to ignore that anomaly that is Cyril Gane, because we'll get into that a little bit later. Because, he's also another one of these bald frauds, but we'll move. So next up, he lacks finishing ability. It's another reason why Tom's going to absolutely smoke him. So he only has 3 finishes in his last 10 fights. Obviously, there's 1 against Gane. He's got 1 all the way down here against Gustafsson, which is the rematch. And he's got 1 all the way down from there, if you ignore the Daniel Cormier no contest, because he tested positive for steroids. His next one was in 2013, which is 5 years of consistently fighting without a finish, and against Chael Sonnen, who was a guy moving up from middleweight. We'll get to the Gane one. Gane cannot grapple. This is my problem with using the Gane as a decent, he got around Gane, fair enough, he exploited the fact he has a weakness. Tom Aspinall is a grappler at base, and he has a black belt on BJJ, and he has multiple submission wins within the UFC. One of which being against Volkov, where he straight arm locked the guy, right? Jones isn't going to be able to do what he did against Gane to Aspinall. But then he fought Gustafsson, right? He managed to take him out via ground and pound, which, fair enough, there's not really much I can say on this other than the fact that they wouldn't schedule the fight in Nevada. Right, well, he already tested positive for Turinabol. We're not going to sanction this fight because they considered him a drug team, right? Because they thought, right, he's already tested positive for Turinabol. He's tested for trace amounts now. We're not going to sanction it. And basically what the UFC did is they said, and USADA as well, is they went and said, right, well, it might be able to pulse within fat cells because Clomid can pulse within fat cells. And they completely disregarded the fact that Jon Jones has already tested positive and has already taken Clomid before, which, we'll just ignore that for a second. But using a different drug to prove why a separate drug can pulse in someone's system makes no sense at all. But we'll move on from that. That's the only asterisk I would have over that performance, because he pretty much did test positive, just not really, you know. So finally moving on to the Chael Sonnen performance, where Chael Sonnen was moving up from middleweight. Chael Sonnen was a middleweight moving up to light heavyweight to fight Jon Jones. Or this is not like abnormal with Jon Jones's record. A lot of the fighters he's faced are middleweights moving up to light heavyweight, or middleweight sized guys. Like Rampage Jackson's 5'11". Lalosa Machida is like 6 foot. Shogun is 6'1", maybe at most. In the current light heavyweight division, the average is about 6'3", 6'4". Jones has only ever fought 2 people who are his size, or 3 people that are his size or bigger: Reyes, Gustafsson, and I cannot say Gustafsson, jeez, and Garn. Right? Everyone else have been middleweight sized guys. So my next point is a very important one. That is Tom is bigger than Jones. I know I said I wouldn't use this, but he is bigger than Jones. Now, ignore the little thing I've got down here. I've tried my best to design it, but like it says his weight is 204. It's not 204. It says Aspinall's 29. You know, let's just ignore that for a second. But we also do have a little confused Jon Jones up here, because Tom is bigger than Jon. That's my next point. So anyway, and that leads on to the same point I was just talking about. You know, fighting smaller guys. He's always had the height advantage, pretty much in every fight. And his only 3 fights are these guys where he hasn't had the advantage. And when he fights against these people, obviously excluding Garn, because Garn can't grapple, when he hasn't had the advantage, he's been demolished within the first couple rounds of these guys, and arguably lost to both of them. About 38% of the fans, if you can look it up on UFC decisions, they ask the fans on who they think wins. 38% of the fans think that Gustafsson win. Gustafsson, I can't say it, but, you know, this guy here won. And about 80% of the fans think Reyes won, with 90% of them taking the first round off Jones, 87% taking the second round off Jones, and about 83% giving the third round to Reyes, or taking the third round off Jones. I don't know why I swapped it up. But you get what I mean. He struggles against guys who are the same height of him, obviously excluding Garn, because he's a complete failure of a fighter. Jon Jones does not have the height advantage over Tom Aspinall, because Tom is bigger than Jon, right? I hate to bring it up again, but he is. So what does this all mean, right? Well, if I had to make a fight prediction based on what we've seen from these two in the UFC, I would choose Tom Aspinall by first round decimation. He's going to destroy the Duck, but obviously Jon Jones, being the Duck he is, will not fight Tom. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye.